Hello guys. Welcome back to my channel, Writing Practices. Today, we are going to learn how to write a purchase agreement letter. What is a purchase agreement letter? A purchase agreement letter is a formal document that outlines the terms and conditions of a transaction between a buyer and a seller. It serves as a legally binding contract that details the purchase of goods, services, or property. The letter typically includes information, such as the description of the items being purchased, the purchase price, payment terms, delivery or transfer details, warranties, and any other specific conditions agreed upon by both parties. The purpose of a purchase agreement letter is to ensure that both the buyer and seller have a clear understanding of their obligations and rights, reducing the risk of misunderstandings or disputes. Once signed by both parties, the agreement legally obligates them to fulfill the terms specified within the document. Here, Writing Practices will show you how to write a purchase agreement letter step by step. Check this out. First of all, you need to write the sender's information. They are including the company name, address, email, and contact number of the sender. And then, write the date. It is when the letter is written. For the next, write the recipient's information. They are including the recipient's name, address, and contact information. Yes, you need to identify the parties involved and provides necessary contact information. Once you've done, you can continue to the subject line. Write a concise statement of the letter's purpose. For example as, Purchase Agreement for Custom Software Development Services. The subject here will clearly state the letter's intention. After completing all those information, now you can open the letter with a formal salutation. You can simply write, "Dear," followed by the name of the recipient. In the first paragraph, which is the opening, this is where you do an introduction. Yes, identify the parties involved, refers to them as the seller and the buyer. By doing so, state the effective date of the agreement as well. Here is the example how to write it. This letter serves as a purchase agreement between Global Tech Solutions Inc., hereinafter referred to as the seller, and Emma Williams, hereinafter referred to as the buyer, effective as of January 25, 2025. After that, you can continue to write the purpose of the agreement. Yes, briefly describe the purpose of the agreement. In this case, the purpose is to establish the context, and sets the legal framework for the agreement. And here is the example how you write it. The purpose of this agreement is to outline the terms and conditions, under which the buyer agrees to purchase certain products, or services, from the seller. In the second paragraph, you will have to mention all the terms and conditions. Here, the agreement has 8 terms. The first one is description of product or service. You can write the detailed description by specifying what is being sold or provided. In this example is custom software development services. Of course, it is to ensure both parties have a clear understanding of the product or service involved. Here is the example how to write it. 1. Description of product or service. The seller agrees to sell, and the buyer agrees to purchase custom software development services. Specifically designed to meet the buyer's business operational needs, as described in the attached project specification document. In the second point, it is about purchase price. Yes, you need to write the total cost and payment terms. State the full purchase price, and outlines how and when payments are to be made. This section is to provide a clear financial outline, preventing any misunderstandings about the cost. And here is the example. 2. Purchase price. The purchase price for the custom software development services shall be $50,000. Payable by the buyer to the seller in the following manner: 50%, or $25,000 upfront upon signing this agreement. And the remaining 50%, or $25,000, upon successful completion and acceptance of the project. In the third point, it is about delivery. You need to write the location and timeline. Specify where and by when the product or service will be delivered. Of course, it is to set expectations for the delivery of the product or service. For example is, 3. Delivery. The seller agrees to complete the custom software development services for the buyer at the following location: 456 Residential Road, San Francisco, Canada 94109, within 6 months from the date of this agreement. Point number 4. It is about warranties. Including the guarantees, you need to describe any warranties provided by the seller regarding the quality and performance of the product or service. The purpose is to protect the buyer by guaranteeing the product or service meets certain standards. You may write something like 4. Warranties. The seller warrants that the custom software development services shall conform to the specifications outlined in the attached project document, and shall be free from defects in design, material, and workmanship. Point 5. Acceptance. It is about inspection period. It means, you must include all detail the time frame the buyer has to inspect and accept the product or service, and the process for rejecting it if necessary. Why? Of course, it is to ensure the buyer has the opportunity to verify the product or service meets the agreed upon standards. Here is the example. 5. Acceptance. The buyer shall have 30 days from the date of project completion to inspect and accept the software. If the software does not conform to the specifications, or is defective, the buyer may reject it in writing within the 30-day acceptance period. Point number 6. Title and risk of loss. It is about transfer of ownership and risk. It means, you need to specify when ownership of the product passes to the buyer, and when the buyer assumes responsibility for it. The purpose is to clarify when the buyer takes full responsibility for the product, both legally and physically. Take a look at this example. 6. Title and risk of loss. Title to the software shall pass to the buyer upon final payment, and the risk of loss or damage shall transfer to the buyer upon acceptance. Point 7. Governing law and entire agreement. This section talks about legal jurisdictions. You must specify which state's laws will govern the agreement. You need to write it like this. 7. Governing law. This agreement shall be governed by and constructed in accordance with the laws of the state of California. Point number 8, which is the last one, it is about entire agreement clause. You need to state that this document represents the complete agreement between the parties. The purpose is to define the legal framework for resolving disputes, and ensures that no prior agreements affect this one. You may write something like 8. Entire agreement. This agreement constitutes the entire understanding between the parties regarding the subject matter herein, and supersedes all prior agreements, whether written or oral. And the closing paragraph, it is about acknowledgement and agreement. This section invites both parties to sign the agreement, indicating their acceptance of its terms. The purpose is of course to formalize the agreement, making it legally binding once signed by both parties. Here, you may write it this way. By signing below, both parties acknowledge that they have read, understood, and agree to the terms of this purchase agreement. And finally, it is the signature lines. There should be spaces for the signatures of both the buyer and seller, along with the date. It is the final step to make the agreement official and enforceable. So, that's how you write a purchase agreement letter step by step. I hope you find this video helpful. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.